Hello, everyone. Welcome to the third episode of the Kilo Talk podcast. I am Wes McKnight. I'm joined here with Nick Sia, and we have two special guests today. Madison, pronounce your last name for me. I don't want to mess it up.
Eichstadt.
And Clay Lapp. We got a great show for you guys today. We're going to dive into some hot topics that a lot of collegiate lifters deal with as far as lifter and student life balance, and then kind of what it's like to be a couple in powerlifting. So hopefully we can bring a great show for you guys. And let's just go ahead and kick things off. Madison, why don't you start off with just telling us a little bit about yourself?
So I have been powerlifting for about 3 years now. Started about to start in med school. I'm finishing up med school right now, graduate in 3 weeks, and then staying at WVU for residency as well. I compete in the 75 kilo weight class. I think that's about it.
Okay, what's some of your goals moving forward? Like, when do you plan to compete next, and what total are you looking at?
So that kind of all got screwed up with coronavirus. I was supposed to compete May 9th, and I had the goal of hitting a national bench record there. It was really like my only goal. Definitely shooting for over 1,000-pound total. And now I don't really know what I'm going to do, because once residency starts in June, I won't really have the time or energy probably to devote to prepping for a meet as much. So I haven't really decided yet.
Yeah. I think we're all kind of in that same boat right now. All right, Clay, give everyone a little introduction about yourself.
I'm Clay. I've been powerlifting for about 3 or 4 years now. Compete in 100 kilos, 220. Best total somewhere probably about a year and a half ago now, 1560, somewhere right around there. I was also going to compete in March 28th at the IBC Classic. They got postponed. Was going to compete in 220 there still. I think, not sure how many meets I've actually done, because I did several unsanctioned meets before my first sanctioned meet. So altogether, we'll call it probably 5 meets.
What kind of got you guys started in powerlifting? I know, Clay, you played football, correct, in college a little bit?
Yeah, I played college football for 2 years.
So did that kind of get you started in lifting and then transition to powerlifting after that?
Yeah, that's what got me into lifting in general at first, was just sport. I probably started working out when I was 12 or 13. Been working out since, and then after I stopped playing football, I got into powerlifting, ran a good old 5.31 for a year and a half or so, and that's really what got me into it.
Good old 5.31. So, fun fact about Madison and Clay that I was creeping on their open powerlifting last night, and I think it's worth mentioning. Madison is currently in the top 100 all-time in the 165 juniors for females, and Clay, you had your set sight on a 1,700-pound total this March, correct?
Well, the real goal was 18, but that would have been very, very difficult. 17 was definitely there, though.
Okay, either way, that would have also put you in the top 100 all-time for 220s, which is really exciting. Kind of sucks that we couldn't see that happen, but I'm sure you'll be back stronger than ever.
Not juniors?
Juniors, sorry.
Okay.
You know the whole deal. Like, you just put on as many filters as you can until you're top 100 or something.
All right, so again, we're very thankful to have you guys on the show. Hopefully you guys can help us bring a lot of insight into a couple of these little topics. Before we jump into that, though, just kind of looking at what's happened this past week, I think we've all saw that the USAPL Nationals have waived their qualifying total. I thought it was a little bit of a shocker. I believe, as much as some of us have our opinions on the USAPL, I believe it was probably a good call. This makes a lot of sense to me. I don't know. What are your guys' kind of thoughts on that?
So this might be a little bit of a hot take. but I actually really disagree with the waiving of the qualifying total, because I think there's a much better way to go about it. And currently, I think they're giving everyone that's qualified up till May 15th to register. Then after that, they're just going to open the floodgates, where I think it would make a little bit more sense to either change the qualification period so you can go back earlier, or even just lower the totals. I know they were raised quite a bit this year, and they were ultra competitive. But even scaling back the qualifying totals and saying like, hey, anything in the past like year and a half would be okay, I think that would have been a much better option than kind of opening the floodgates, just because it keeps that quote unquote prestige on, rather than, getting some people who have only done one meet and in all honesty aren't that competitive, just showing up at what is one of the biggest national meets in the world.
I mean, to be completely honest, I guess I really don't know that much about it other than what the powerlifting subreddit thread gave me. I really don't follow USAPL that much at all. So my only take on it is I just think it just makes it a glorified state level meet, really, because if you're not going to have a qualifying total, then you just have a very large pool that you're drawing from.
Yeah, I can definitely see that side of it. I mean, I guess my only thought process on why maybe it'd be like a good call was just because you see a lot of these meets right now not really taking a very hard stand on what they're going to do, kind of because of the coronavirus. And I guess this was kind of a good way to. It's good to see they're proactively looking at this, but I kind of do agree with what you guys are saying. Like maybe it was a little early, and maybe there was something else that could have been done about it for sure.
And also, I feel like for USAPL, Raw Nats is like one of the few meets that like is able to be a goal. So like in powerlifting, I think a big problem in the sport in general is that you don't have enough upper level meets that people can set sites to have a goal to like compete there even. So by taking away the qualifying total, you take away that Raw Nats is a goal for lifters to get to. Now it's just, hey, I can sign up, I can go now. It's not really a goal anymore.
Yeah, I agree with that because I know our group meet with the West Virginia powerlifting team immediately. I know Nick said it and Jordan kind of agreed. And so it does kind of open up the door to just a lot of people have kind of just always wanted to do it, can do it now instead of kind of waiting to the point where they have to qualify. Because I don't think, Nick, would you have qualified for Raw Nationals or no?
No, for the juniors, I was about 140 pounds off. And then for the open, I was like 200 pounds off. But kind of going back to like looking at the big picture, in my mind, this kind of just took back powerlifting to like the early 2010s when, anyone can sign up for Raw Nationals. And in my mind, kind of as a whole, because qualifying totals for meets are increasing across the board for every federation where they exist, it speaks to the growth of powerlifting as a whole. So to kind of just have a blanket waiving of qualifying totals in my mind kind of just says like, okay, this is kind of going backwards a little bit.
Yeah, but are we not kind of just worried as a whole that we might be getting to that point with kind of what we've talked about, like the financial aspects of the coronavirus, where participation might drop? I mean, we see it this year, but could this be something we also see in 2021 as well? Or do you think we'll go back to the normal qualifying standards?
I could definitely see them dropping the qualifying totals, but I can't see them dropping it altogether for the future.
Okay. Yep. Very interesting. Oh, go ahead.
I think it's still probably just a little too big to completely drop the qualifying totals moving forward. Would be my guess.
Yeah, I could see that. So, yeah, it'll definitely be something we can monitor as it gets closer to the fall and USAPL Nationals. So the next topic we're kind of going to dive into is something that when we first started talking about this, we instantly thought about Madison and Clay to kind of speak of. Is basically just a lifter to student life balance for a lot of the college students. And honestly, we can even expand on this because I know Clay's already graduated at this point. Just a life lifter balance in general. because even someone working a full-time job can kind of deal with some of these issues. But I know Madison's a med student, so she's very busy with school, and Clay, again, has graduated and went on to a full-time job. So we think they can speak upon this very well. So kind of what we just want to open up to you guys. What do you guys think that you've experienced in the past, some challenges you dealt with being a very successful lifter that you guys are, and dealing with life and a student balance?
So one thing that really helped me out, definitely in the first couple of years of med school here, is that like my lectures were mostly 8 to noon, and then after that was just free study time for us. And yes, there's a lot of self-study that you have to do in med school, but it allows your schedule to be really flexible. So like after probably the first semester, I kind of learned how I was as a student, and I worked better in the morning. So I worked hard with school in the morning, and then come 1, 2 in the afternoon when I was kind of getting burnt out, and I would take a break, go to the gym, spend however long I wanted there, come home, eat dinner, and then go back to studying. That was pretty much my schedule for the first 2 years of school. It got a little harder for third year when I started my clinical rotations, because that schedule was very set. Well, kind of set, not set. You had a very specific time to be in there in the morning, usually 5 or 6 a.m. And then you got out when the residents told you could leave, which might have been 1 in the afternoon, might have been 6 in the evening. So with the longer rotations, I felt that my fatigue level was higher, which I didn't realize until after I prepped for a meet during my surgery rotation, which was get up at 4, go to bed at 11 at night. And the entire 7 weeks of that rotation, I was prepping for collegiate nationals in 2019. Had a really bad meet, ended up failing the rotation. Neither side was good. So now, based on that experience, I kind of learned to like look at whether the time, my schedule around the meet is going to allow me to be able to recover better, and if not, then find another meet.
Awesome. So what about you, Clay? Kind of what's your experience with this?
So I guess now that, like you pointed out, I'm a college grad, I have 2 takes on it. I have the take when I was in school, and now that I have some hindsight, now that I've graduated in school. I worked still. I worked about 30 hours a week, a full-time college student, working out. Really, for me, it was just attempting to break up my workout into time slots that worked. So like if I only had an hour and a half in between when classes got out and when I had to go to work, then I had to do something in that hour and a half time frame that would allow me to get stronger but still fit in. And for me, that's really kind of what I did. And I don't know. It did make things a bit difficult to get certain amounts of volume in or anything like that, or peaking for a meet and working up to heavy singles, doubles, or triples. That typically takes a while. So yeah, that made it a lot more difficult. A couple of ways you can get around that is trying to program those longer days for yourself on the weekend. What I did, and I think that really helped me out a lot with time management there. And my hindsight take on it is I probably should have my progressive overload. So that way my fatigue accumulation was a little bit less. And because I think the reason I think that would have been beneficial for me is because I had so many life stressors with school and work going on that I don't think the outside fatigue from work, school, and working out, I think less fatigue from working out really would have actually just been beneficial for me and allowed me to express a little bit more strength, allowed me to have a little bit more energy in the gym and to study, things like that. So hindsight 2020, sometimes not working as hard is actually a little bit better when you're in school.
Yeah, definitely. I've had some of that experience as well. I've noticed that when I can maybe push or pull the training back a little bit while school's going on and very super busy, I usually end up being pretty successful as a lifter. And then also, Nick, I know you can go ahead and speak a little bit on this too. You're a grad student, so I don't kind of what are some of the challenges you've dealt with in the past as far as program or scheduling your training around your school?
So I guess the biggest thing that I took away from undergrad and I guess grad school now, even though my grad school workload is a lot lighter and I have a lot more free time and I have a lot more freedom of schedule. But looking back in undergrad, kind of how quickly things spring up on you, assignments, projects, tests, all that stuff can really throw a wrench in your training. And if you're in meet prep and you commit to it, I mean, you've got to be serious about it and you've got to prioritize it to some degree. So a lot of the times, and this was something that just kind of clicked in my mind as Clay was talking about it, was that life stressors play a really big part in how you perform in the gym. So I've noticed that weeks that maybe I was hitting RP 9s, 10s, and stuff like that, as well as having tests, a lot of homeworks and projects due, was really tough. And at the end of the week, all I wanted to do was sleep, and I felt like I got hit by a bus. But like one example that I always look back to is the week of Collegiate Nationals 2019, where I had a bunch of exams, a bunch of projects, like pretty much anything that I could have due. I had multiple of those due, and I was really lucky to have that as a taper week where I didn't have to lift as much. But I definitely felt the fatigue coming in as I was weighing in and everything. And even, I was still so stressed out with everything due the next week that I didn't really even sleep much the night before competing. And that definitely took a toll on what happened the next day.
I think that's one thing that actually med schools made easier, is that so much of our schedule was like set in stone. You had exams every 3 weeks. The day before exams, you had off. Once you got to clinicals, you had exams every 8 weeks. Like, you knew your schedule the entire year, so you could kind of plan around that. One thing, like, I didn't realize until this year. So 4th year, you don't really have any exams. You just go on interviews and hope you match somewhere for residency. Like, I didn't realize how much life stressors just even played into fatigue. Because, like, my school stress, like, I don't have any exams to say for. Like, my school level stress is very low, but I still dealt with a lot of fatigue accumulation due to life stressors, just because of how stressed out I was about everything going on in life.
Yep, definitely. So I guess, go ahead.
This is another hindsight idea that I had towards or right around when I graduated, is that I was able to do once, and I think it helped me, is deloading the week before your finals week instead of the week of finals week, which is I know is pretty common, because I think that the week after the deload, I feel better the week of the deload, because that week after your deload, your training is still more difficult. You don't have that fatigue accumulated from the prior week. It should have already dissipated. And the couple of times that I was able to do that, I think it helped more than deloading the week of finals.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with that as well. That statement. I guess the next thing I kind of want to talk about on this subject is as far as like socializing and kind of having that social life as well when you have all these different things going on. Of course, I think everyone in powerlifting at times have made some sacrifices. And I mean, I struggled with this a lot when I was younger. I wanted to still go to the bars, but then also train and do my schoolwork and things like that. And it was hard to balance that. So how do you kind of find that balance of having that social time, maybe with your friends or doing different things outside, but not letting it affect your training?
I mean, I'm not a great person to ask this, because my social life was one of the big sacrifices that I did end up making in school. But for me, the the thing that I noticed that came from it is gym became a more social thing for me when I sacrificed I guess what I'll call outward social life. So going out with my friends and drinking and things like that. When I stopped that and then started taking gym sessions more seriously, it became more social for me. I don't know if that was necessarily because like I wanted social interaction and it was like a subconscious thing that came from wanting social interaction, or if like I consciously made that decision. I really don't remember, but with the powerlifting team that we had a good group of people to interact with, and I know that that's where a lot of my social interaction came from. So if you're in that position where you have a good social group that you work out with, that's probably a good place to start with that. And if you don't have that, maybe try and find some people you can socialize in the gym with. That way it makes that transition of stopping, like going out with your friends and being out late a little bit easier.
I totally agree. I think one of the biggest things that's really overlooked in that regard is that we're in the gym because we really enjoy it. So while it is sometimes necessary to sacrifice your social group to train or for school or whatever, but I mean, being in the gym is really fun. So it would make sense to surround yourself with people that you can socialize with in there too. And I feel the same way. I've made a lot of friends through the team, and a lot of my social time this past semester while I was in prep was in the gym, just kind of dicking around with the rest of the team pretty much.
I guess that's what happens when you're president, though. You have to spend 4 hours there.
Yeah, that's totally the reason.
There were multiple days I was there for, I mean, it was at least 5-6 hours. So we had different team lifts and things like that. But yeah, I definitely agree with that, because like I was saying, when I kind of struggled with this to start out, when I was a freshman and sophomore, I found myself where I kind of had two different friend groups a lot of times. I had the friends that wanted to go out to the bars. I mean, hell, we were going 3 nights a week and drinking at the old slut dungeon here in Morgantown. But I had those two different friend groups, and I also had the lifting friend group. And I think at the time I was trying to occupy my free time with both of them evenly. And obviously that is not a recipe for being a successful lifter. Being at the bar till 2 a.m. is not a good way to drop fatigue and be successful. So it was part of me kind of just growing up, and then also my other friend group kind of growing up as well, and not doing that all the time. That really helped me become a better lifter. And then I also, like you guys are saying, I mean, my best friends are at the gym right now. And that's kind of why this coronavirus sucks so bad, is I don't get to go see the people I like to hang out with. So I think starting to get that friend group in the gym is great for anyone.
Yeah,
I think
agree.
Yeah, I think I can kind of speak for everyone here when I say that alcohol and lifting really just do not mix together well.
No, and for some reason I can't stop drinking the alcohol.
I mean, I remember one time my sophomore year, I stayed out pretty late, like got pretty trashed, if I'm gonna be honest. And I had like a 5x10 on deadlifts the next day, and it was like a pretty heavy weight for me at the time. And I think 2 sets in, I was at the gym for maybe like half an hour. I just packed up and left because I just could not do it. I felt like puking. I was really hungover. I was really dehydrated. Like no amount of water could save me at that point.
I would like to know how many times Clay and Madison have heard me make the statement that I'm done drinking. It's probably at least got to be 20 times since I've known you guys.
Well, you see, Wes, I just stopped paying attention when you say that now.
I don't blame you, man. The White Claws just keep getting to me.
You don't even buy White Claws.
I get the Aldi's brand White Claws, man. They're cheaper, they're just as good, and they only have the lemon lime. It's perfect, man. It's like $2 off a 12-pack compared to the regular White Claws.
It's also directly related to when you say you're getting serious about lifting again.
Yeah, and I mean, at times I have gotten serious about lifting, and then other times I say it and I don't. So I guess one more thing to kind of wrap up this topic, and this is Clay can kind of speak on this a lot because you did play college football. To be a successful powerlifter in college, how close do you think that kind of compares to being a collegiate athlete?
It's in some ways it's super similar. In some ways, it isn't, because like I was speaking with earlier. So like I played college football. So there's a group of 80 people or whatever. Every day did everything. Like, and when I went to classes, there were still 10 other people from the football team in my classes. So there was always a social aspect for me. There was always people there that I knew. There was always people there to help me, and there were resources specifically for athletes that made your life slightly easier. So in that facet, it was a little bit easier being like a quote unquote actual college athlete. But I'll say I didn't sacrifice as much. And well, this is going to be a weird way to word it. When I played college football, I sacrificed like a lot of time in learning schemes and like sacrificing time to like group workouts or group lifts, things like that. And that is something that you don't have to do with powerlifting. Like if you have a coach, you just go to the gym for an hour and a half, 2 hours a day, and you work out, and that's it. You literally don't have to think about it. But when you're an actual athlete, there's a lot of schemes, a lot of knowledge about the game that you have to constantly think about. Then week to week, game to game, it changes. There's a large mental aspect of being a college athlete that I don't think people realize is a thing that is actually very, very challenging. That with powerlifting is more or less non-existent. And that, a way makes it a lot easier because you can just kind of, like a better term, shut your brain off and go do some work. Get stronger.
Yeah, I think that's some really good points for sure. Does anyone else want to add anything to that? Or
I believe Madison was a college athlete as well too, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm sorry, Madison. I was not leaving you out here.
I mean, it wasn't the level Clay was. I did equestrian team and dance team my first year of college. Also tried to work full-time job during that time. And like the biggest thing from that was just like schedule with collegiate athletics like is set. There's no flexibility in that schedule whatsoever, which is what I found difficult with kind of work a job during it as well. But with powerlifting, you can kind of adjust your schedule as you need it, and it's easier to still be successful because you have that flexibility. You have the ability to change your training based on your life.
Yeah, I remember when I played college football, our classes got out at 3:50 and our practice would start at 4:10. So, you got to get from class to practice and be ready to go at 4:10. That's another thing. Like when I was in school, I could just stroll down onto the rec, take 15, 25 minutes to warm up. Like it wasn't a big deal because I wasn't time restrained by anyone. It was just me or myself. My schedule that time restrained me, not somebody else's.
Yeah. Awesome.
One other thing that I wanted to touch on too with being a student athlete or being a student in general, likes to work out. You should probably meal prep your food if you can.
Yes.
Being a college student is a struggle financially and time management. For me, being able to meal prep my food on the weekends, just chalk out 2 hours on the weekends, meal prep meals for the week, was huge financially and huge time management wise.
You should tell them how you did your chicken and
Oh yeah. So back when I lived in dorms, what I would do is I had a rice cooker. I would go to the dorms, get a ton of chicken breasts. Or I'd go to the dining halls, have them give me a ton of chicken breasts, some raw broccoli I grabbed from the salad bars. I'd go back up to my dorm room. Whenever I would need a meal, I would pull some chicken from the fridge, my rice cooker. Once my rice was about halfway through, I'd throw the broccoli in, so that way it would cook through, and put the chicken in there at the end, so that way it would heat up, salt, pepper, to go.
That's some dedication right there.
That's kind of disgusting, if I'm going to be honest.
If you put enough salt and pepper on anything, it's good.
And then he found himself a girl that would cook him dinner some night, which helped.
Yeah, but that's a great point, though, and I think that's something a lot of that I see a lot with the new lifters that come into the powerlifting team is they don't go that extra step, and I hear it a lot from guys that could be guys and girls that could be very successful lifters, but then they're like, "Oh, I just didn't eat for 6, 7, 8 hours during the day," and it's like you really can't afford that as hard as you're training. So I think that's a great point that all college powerlifters need to focus on is making sure their diet is in check. You can do it. It might be a little more challenging because you're in school, but it is possible. So there's plenty of good resources out there as well that kind of talk about this.
Way to save money, too.
Yes, definitely. So one thing we kind of want to talk about that I don't think you hear a lot about in powerlifting in general is just powerlifting as a couple. So you see a lot of maybe one person in the relationship being a very successful power lifter, and the other one maybe lifts weights with them or does a couple meets here and there. But I mean, you guys both compete at a very elite level, in my opinion, for juniors. So what are kind of some of the challenges with that as a couple? Like I've always thought it was interesting to learn more about this. And how do you guys kind of prioritize your training?
So we've competed together at one meet. After that meet, I said never again.
2 meets.
2 meets?
Yeah, bar fight, collegiate nationals.
Yeah, collegiate nationals too. After the last one, I said never again. So it's super difficult to there watch the person's attempts. If you're the flight after, there watch the person's attempts, help them with attempt selection, and make sure that you're hitting all your warm-ups at the right time. So, thing that will probably help this previous make more sense. I coach Madison, so I have to be there to help her with attempt selection and all that. It's a big time restraint for me on making sure that I have enough time to hit all my warm-ups at the appropriate times, like the flight before. For me, it's not something I want to do again. So, with that, actually answer your question, Wes, we prioritize it is we don't do the same meets, so that way we're there to help each other still.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. And I've kind of heard that before. And I was just wondering what your guys' take was on it. And I have noticed you guys haven't really competed together since bar fight last year. Yeah. And I definitely can see why that'd be a little bit of a challenge, especially where you are, Clay, you are coaching Madison. And then also I see Madison at the gym every day helping you with your attempts and your calls and stuff like that. So either way, you guys both have a lot of opinion in each other's training. So I could see how that could cause some challenges. One thing I will touch on, and I mean, you guys can answer this however you want. Do you believe powerlifting kind of helps or hurts your relationship? Do you guys ever have kind of struggles that happen in the gym that carry over outside the gym, or do you kind of keep them two separate things?
I mean, powerlifting is how we met, so I will say number one, it helps. We met at the rec, but I think it helps. We both are very serious enough about powerlifting that, like, if there's any tension at the gym or like about our training in general, like, we understand it's just because we're passionate about it. And like, part of my struggles when I had like a bad prep or a bad peak is that like I feel like I let Clay down because I coach and like I want to do as well as I can for him and make him proud. But like, he feels bad because he's the one responsible for my training. So like we both understand it's just really passionate about the sport, and like having that understanding is important, I think.
And to go off of that, Madison questions some of the the programming that I give her, temp selection, yada yada yada. I know that she's not doing it to, I don't know, instill doubt or whatever. Yeah. I know that she's doing it to help me, help push me as a coach and help me become better, and also she's doing it to help herself learn about why I program in the way that I program. So I think understanding why those questions are being asked really goes a long way to reduce any sort of tension or anything like that.
Well, Clay, sorry, go on.
I also think it's helpful, like, my diet is so much more in check with Clay because, like, we eat the same. We prioritize diet in our training so much that, like, it's easier to eat semi-clean if the person you're eating 90% of your meals with is also eating semi-clean and, like, meal prepping with you, and both love cooking. So, like, just takes the chore out of that task a lot.
I can definitely see that. And just to kind of touch on what I guess you and Clay said earlier, I mean, Clay has said that multiple times that he never said he was good at programming. If you had a shitty meet, I mean, by all means, blame him.
That's very true. I do go out of my way to never say that I know anything about programming.
It just somehow works.
But work kind of hard, and you don't work so hard to deload, and go back and work hard again. Simple. or what I tell Matt Maloney: you pick up more weight, more better.
It's also really nice, like, having him as a coach too, in that, like, I do have a shitty meet, and I, like, have those moments of stress, and I'm not, like, he's the person I go to, and I don't have to, like, he understands 100%, 110%, like, why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling. It's not like I'm trying to explain, like, why this is so important to me. Like, if you're in the middle of a meet competing, not in the right headspace, and you try to go to someone that doesn't understand powerlifting to the level you do, you're going to be supportive probably, but not really understand.
Yeah, I could definitely see. I mean, I don't have, like, a powerlifting significant other or, like, a significant other, like, at all, but I can kind of attest to how much of a difference, like, having a good handler makes on meet day, and having that personal connection with them that is on another level would probably make a world of difference as well.
Yeah, I mean, like, it definitely helps that I know Madison really well. Just like as a person, it makes it really easy for me to read her body language. I think that helps out a lot with the mentality of training and the mentality of attempts, all those things.
Yeah, he's also picked up on when I'm over fatigued before I picked up on when I'm over fatigued, just based on how I'm acting, and I'm like, didn't realize that.
Yeah, I mean that has to be a huge benefit of kind of seeing those cues in and out of the gym, I guess, as well. So I think so we're going to start trying to do some listener questions, just so all our listeners know. It could be powerlifting, training related. It could be whatever questions you want to ask. But we're going to start trying to do that every week when we have guests, and probably even when we don't have guests. It's just a way we can get everyone kind of involved in the podcast. So Nick, why don't you kick us off with that and see what the listeners had to ask this week?
Okay, so we had 3 questions. The first one was from you, and it just said testing, and I assume that was just to see whether it would work, but it might have been a question about, like, drug testing or
no.
other types of testing. I don't know.
That was not about. That was just a test.
The first question that we actually received was, who would win in a fight to the death, Nick or Wes?
All I'm going to say is that Wes has the reach and weight advantage. I think it's an uphill battle for you, Nick. That's all I'm saying.
But Nick's deadlift picture in their Instagram has more weight on the bar than Wes's.
That is true. I'd also like to point out that Nick is a wrestler.
You did BJJ, didn't you, Wes?
Yeah, for a little bit.
I don't know. I've been in one fight in my entire life, and I got my ass beat. Like, it was wild. I got a knife pulled on me and everything.
You live in Cleveland, so.
Yeah, it was in Cleveland. But yeah, to be honest, I'm not a very good fighter. I mean, you guys like know me personally. Like, I'm a very timid, very quiet person, and I just don't like getting in confrontation at all. It was like a life or death situation. I'm not entirely sure because, like I said, I got a knife pulled on me and I still lost the fight.
Oh yeah, I don't know. I think I'm gonna go Wes. Fuck it up to Wes. Sorry, Nick.
Yeah, I've seen Wes attack a person once.
Wes does thoroughly enjoy bar fights, so
I saw him jump a person one time. That was a little scary.
I will have to say, though, Nick saw my last little confrontation, and I'm pretty sure I was so drunk I completely whiffed. So I just got kicked out and left, and that was it.
Just get
that was a fun night.
It was a fun night. So I think our next part of this question, I think we should probably rephrase it. And instead of a fight to the death, maybe we should say a race, or else we're going to probably lose some listeners and have two very angry women coming to kick our ass. So go ahead, Nick.
Okay. So it's I'm gonna skip the second one. For
all right.
So the next pair that we have is Matt Maloney or Sean Redinger.
So this is a fight, correct? Fight to the death.
Yes.
Okay.
Sean does have some old man strength at this point.
And some army training.
However, he's a large beer gut.
He's past his prime.
Probably past his prime. So I'm going to go Matt.
Matt does have the bigger neck, and that is a true indicator of strength.
There you go.
I feel like Sean, though, just has the attitude. Like, he's just not going to give up. Like, he could be on the ground dying, but he just will keep going.
I was about to say, and I think we have to point out, have you guys ever seen Matt mad at?
I guess not.
Because I don't think I have.
Good point. I'm just mad at anything, though, so I don't really know.
Well, here's like a real question we got to answer, though. Like, is this like a no weapons fight? Because like Sean loves his guns, man.
I feel like Matt
does Matt.
Oh shit, you're right. I kind of want to see this happen.
Matt does have the short bench arms, though.
He does.
Yeah, Sean does have a reach advantage.
I think I have to go Sean.
Okay.
Sorry, Matt.
Yeah, I'd have to go Sean.
I'm sticking with Matt. Just stick with Matt.
Clay's going to be Matt's only friend after this.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, like, is Rough and Rowdy coming back to Morgantown anytime soon? Like, we could actually decide this.
Yeah, we can make this work. It's only over in Wheeling now, isn't it? Where is it?
I'm not sure.
It's still not far away.
Yeah, I had a friend who did Rough and Rowdy a few years ago, and his friends like signed him up unknowingly, and he had to fight some like giant coal miner, and he was getting wailed on the entire fight, but they somehow gave him the decision win, and I was shocked to see that even. And I mean, I'll have to pull up the video for you like sometime, but his face when he got his arm raised was absolutely priceless.
All right, so we're at a 3-1 Sean on that one.
Yes, sorry, Matt.
Sorry for Nick and Wes.
Well, Nick and I can't vote.
I guess that's true.
I choose Wes.
Sorry, Nick.
I mean, I'd agree. So I mean, that's 3-1 or 3-0 Wes.
I would say you. So it's 3-1, I guess. But, all right, we'll go into the last one, and you can phrase this how you want. But
so, asked by the same person, it's like, where would said death matches take place? There is a right answer, but I am not revealing that at this time.
I believe the correct answer is behind the ghetto version of Kroger's in Morgantown, West Virginia.
that is correct.
That is very correct.
I had to specify because bad things do not happen behind good Kroger's.
Yeah.
only bad Kroger's.
Only the ghetto Kroger, not the Gucci, right?
Right.
I mean, I went to Gucci Kroger once, and I was ran someone over, and he like, I mean, it was kind of my fault, but I was like driving, and then this guy like was looking to see whether he would want to cross like the pedestrian thing, and he decided to like make a point out of it and like pointed to the like pedestrian crossing while I was driving across. So it was a mess. This was not too long ago. I think it was when like the panic buying started happening. So I was trying to find a parking spot, but I couldn't at all.
Harrison, were you at the Gucci with me the one time? There was like 4 sheriffs there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they started chasing someone.
Yeah. All I'm saying is I've never seen that happen to Crow Ghetto.
That's true.
That's fair.
All right, guys. So again, thank you for joining us. It's been a great episode. So I do want to point out real quick, Clay and Madison both do coaching. So if you're if you're someone looking for a coach or maybe just lifting advice in general, make sure to reach out to them. But go ahead, Clay and Madison. Why don't you tell all our listeners where they can find you at on social media?
I'm on Instagram mostly at MK Eichstadt.
I think I am on Instagram, but I never really get on there.
Yeah, and if you want any coaching or anything, just shoot us an email or message, and we can get you in contact with them. But Nick, where can they find you at?
On Instagram at notasquid99.
And then I'm on Instagram at westmcknight7. And while you're on there, go ahead and follow our podcast Instagram at Kilo Talk Podcast. And then we are on iTunes and Spotify. So make sure to subscribe and give us a follow on there and write a review. And thank you for everyone for listening to this episode. And thank you again, Clay and Madison.
It's good to be here.